They said she was cursed for giving birth to 3 daughters. They beat her, abandoned her, and left her broken. But when a quiet rancher stepped forward and whispered, "You're coming with me," no one imagined what happened next. Stay with me till the end, because this isn't just a love story, it's about survival, redemption, and the kind of strength that changes lives forever. The dust of the small prairie town swirled under the hot sun as Anna stumbled out of her husband's house. Her lip was split, her hair matted with blood, and her thin arms wrapped around her youngest daughter, barely 3 years old. Behind her, a harsh voice bellowed cruel words that echoed in the street. 3 daughters. Worthless. No sons, no future. You're cursed, woman. The neighbors watched but turned their faces away. It was easier to pretend they didn't see. That's how it always was, in a town where women were expected to be silent, and men's fists were their word. Anna's eldest daughter, little Mary, only 12, held her sister's hands tight as she tried to comfort them. "Mama, don't cry," she whispered, though her own cheeks were streaked with tears. Inside, Anna's heart shattered. She had once been full of dreams, of laughter, of books, of family dinners filled with warmth. But years of abuse and the shame of bearing only daughters had turned her into a shadow of herself. She wanted to run, but where could she go? With 3 children clinging to her, she felt trapped, like a bird whose wings had been clipped. That night, as the town grew quiet, Anna sat by the old well near the edge of the road. Her daughters slept in her lap, hungry and exhausted. She whispered prayers into the darkness, hoping that somehow, someone, somewhere would hear her. And someone did. From across the street, under the dim light of a lantern, stood a man most people in town knew only as the lonely rancher. His name was Samuel. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a weathered face carved by years of working the land alone. Some said he had no family, others whispered he was cursed too, because his wife had died young and left him without children. But Samuel wasn't staring at Anna with judgment. He was watching her with something rare, compassion. The next morning, when Anna's husband shoved her into the street again, declaring she and the children were no longer his burden, the crowd gathered like they always did. The women murmured, the men shrugged, and no one lifted a hand. That was when Samuel stepped forward. His boots crunched on the dirt road, and his voice, deep and calm, cut through the silence. He looked at Anna, then at her daughters. Then he turned to the husband. "She's not your burden anymore," Samuel said firmly. His eyes burned with a quiet fire. He extended his hand to Anna. "You're coming with me." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Anna's heart pounded in her chest. She had no idea what he meant, or why he would risk speaking up against her husband in a town that always sided with men. But as his hand stretched toward her, she felt something she hadn't felt in years, hope. And for the first time in her life, Anna didn't look back. She placed her trembling hand in his. Life at Samuel's ranch was not easy, but it was different. The sprawling fields stretched wide under the endless sky, the smell of horses and earth filled the air, and though his house was simple, it was filled with something Anna had never known, peace. Samuel didn't talk much, but his actions spoke volumes. He built a small room for Anna and the girls, repaired their shoes, and made sure their bellies were full. He taught Mary how to ride a horse, encouraged the middle daughter to plant a small garden, and held the youngest on his knee as if she were his own blood. Anna, however, struggled to believe this new life was real. She often woke at night, trembling, afraid she'd hear the angry voice of her husband at the door. She apologized for small mistakes, flinched at sudden movements, and expected punishment for speaking too loudly. But Samuel never raised his hand. Never shouted. Instead, he simply said, "No woman deserves to be broken for bringing life into this world. Daughters are blessings. Sons are blessings. Children are gifts, all the same." Slowly, Anna began to heal. Her bruises faded, but more importantly, her spirit began to return. She laughed again. She sang old lullabies at night. She walked with her head held higher. Still, the town whispered. They mocked Samuel for taking in a cursed woman. They told him he'd ruin his name, his ranch, and his future. But Samuel never wavered. He told Anna, "Let them laugh. A man's worth isn't measured by their approval, it's measured by what he protects." Months later, the same husband who had thrown Anna out returned, demanding she come back. But when he stormed onto Samuel's land, shouting and spewing hate, he found not a weak woman trembling before him, but Anna, standing tall beside Samuel, her daughters clutching her hands. Samuel's voice thundered like the crack of a whip. "You will not touch them again. This family is mine to protect now." The men sneered, but when he saw the determination in Anna's eyes, the strength she had found in her new life, he realized his power over her was gone forever. The crowd that once looked away now saw something different. They saw a woman reborn, and a lonely rancher who had chosen love over loneliness, kindness over cruelty. From that day forward, Anna was no longer the cursed woman with 3 daughters. She was the woman who rose from ashes, who found a new life, and who proved that daughters were not burdens, they were legacies. And Samuel? He was no longer the lonely rancher. He was the man who turned silence into safety, and brokenness into a home.